Maybe you're like me and have had those odd, awkward, sometimes terrifying conversations with religious people. And sometimes even when you know you're headed to an event, a party, some kind of gathering, and you're just dreading the conversations or what people might ask you, especially if it's a known thing that you are a non-believer or atheist or agnostic or even really questioning um, faith. Especially now, I realize, by the way, my name is Timmy Gibson, former evangelical fundamental Bible thumping, tongue talking pastor. Spent 30 years as an evangelical pastor. Spent about 48 years as an evangelical Christian. Even got amongst the name it and claim it, health and wealth gospel charismatics there for a while. Anyway, so this is a question that I get asked a lot, and I have to mention this. I say this often in my videos because it just bears repeating, and there might be first time listeners. So by the way, welcome. Glad you're here. Thank you so much. Um, it's I realize that all religion is not the same. All Christianity is not the same, right? So clearly, I'm talking from my perspective, which is coming from that literalist, that fundamental, we're right, everyone else is wrong. We've interpreted the Bible right, everyone else doesn't interpret it right. All other religions are false, fake, made up, and wrong. Okay. So if you don't come from that background, then you might not resonate with my story. My story is a very specific story, and clearly it's resonating with a lot of people because I get a lot of emails from you, a lot of direct messages and DMs, and it's just amazing the stories that I hear. I honestly sometimes I'm surprised at how many people have had the same kind of experiences that I've had and have walked away from it like I have. And it's just fascinating. I really am fascinated by how many people have been traumatized by evangelical fundamentalism and Bible thumpery. It's just wild, very wild to me. So I want to talk about, and again, I understand maybe you didn't come from this background like we did. Uh, Maybe you come from a more sophisticated Christianity, where you don't really talk about it with other people. You just go to church, you do your thing, but it's a very private thing. You don't try to get people saved. You don't try to correct people's interpretation of the Bible. You don't try to make sure that they understand that being gay is a sin. It is a sin. It's in the Bible. Okay, that's the kind of people I'm talking about. And unfortunately, shockingly, those people are still out in the world. My son recently encountered some folks like that when he was visiting a friend in California, and the family just kind of, like trying to get him saved, trying to get him back. It's just it's weird, it's culty, it's wrong, it's disrespectful, it's traumatic, it's lies, it's mythology, like on and on and on I could go. But that's not what this video is about. This video is, how do you handle these conversations when you get around these weird Christian people? Again, not all Christians are weird. Don't read into what I'm saying here. I'm talking about a specific group, that fundamental evangelical, the weirdos. Okay. Yes. And I'm saying that it's weird. Those are weird beliefs. I used to be a weirdo. I'm still odd in some ways, I'm sure. But I used to be a weird religious person that literally believed that Jonah lived in the belly of a fish for 3 days because he wouldn't go preach to Nineveh like God had asked him to. So God sent a big fish to get him. Noah built an ark. and two of every creature around the world came to the ark. I believed all that stuff as literally true, like literal history. Okay. Those are the people I'm talking about. I feel uniquely qualified to make fun of that group because I came out of that group. So this isn't like I'm throwing stones clearly from the outside. I was on the inside, I escaped, and now I talk about it. So, how do you have conversations? So, if you, I did one about family, but what about when you have friends that who, who are still have these deeply held religious, especially here in the Midwest, a lot of hardcore Christians that feel that it is their job to lead all of their friends and their neighbors to Christ, that they're going to get them to repent of their sins and get them to confess Jesus so they can spend eternity in heaven walking on the streets of gold. Okay, so there are people that really legitimately believe in things like that, things like the return of Jesus, the rapture, the tribulation, all that goofy stuff. Some people literally believe that stuff is true and that it's going to happen. It's not. It's not true, and it's not going to happen. So I have other videos on that. But really, honestly, how do you interact with these people? Right? And I'm doing this video partially, if I'm just being honest here, partially out of frustration because my son, who isn't even an atheist, I think he says he's agnostic and he just has lots of questions and whatever, and that's fine. To like, I don't try to if someone's a Christian, I do not try to convert them to agnosticism. That, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't meet a Christian and think, I'm going to win them back. I'm going to win them to the truth. I don't think that at all. I literally, matter of fact, if I find out they're a Christian, I usually taper things that I say. Honestly, I mean, what I mean by that is I don't try to offend. You know, if they say, this happened last night. I was out with some friends, and one of those friends is a Christian, and started saying some Christianese things about God and this and that, and I just listened. You know, that's what he thinks. That's what he believes. That's fine. And the reality is, his beliefs aren't hurting me. Now, it hurt my ears, right? Like, it hurt my ears to hear it because I was just like, in my mind, I was like, BS, BS, ding, 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 BS, 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 ding, 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 not true, not true, not true, ding, 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 ding. No evidence whatsoever for that. No evidence whatsoever for that. Like, I mean, all that stuff's happening in my mind, but I don't say nothing, and you can't even tell by the look on my face, man. You know, I just, just whatever, right? So I have a few. I actually have some points I'm going to share, but I want to talk about this thing called empathy. Okay, and this is something that when I'm talking to a Christian, if they start if they start asking me questions that I know they're not going to like my answer, sometimes I'll just tell them straight up, say, hey, listen, I spent many years in the Christian world, and I've walked away from all of that. I have just different beliefs now, and this is just an area that we're just going to have to agree to disagree, and we're just clearly not going to see eye to eye. Now, if you're genuinely curious about my thoughts or how I came to this position, I'll definitely talk about it. But we're not going to have any kind of, you're going to be preaching at me. You're going to try to correct me. You're going to try to save me. You're going to tell me I'm wrong. That I can feel my blood right now curdling, because it's such a superior mindset that when you're talking to a Christian and they think they're going to help set you free, whenever in your, like me, I'm thinking to myself, dude, I'm more free. Like, what do you mean free? I've never felt more free. I never felt more free than when I walked away from all that mythology and all that goofiness, all those lies and traumatic false teachings. Like, I absolutely, like, all the things that I carried around, man, it just lifted off of me, and I feel freer. I feel more alive. I feel more at peace. I feel a sense of purpose and meaning. Like, it's unbelievable. And again, I can only tell you what I'm experiencing, and this is just what I'm experiencing. So, but what do you do when you're encountering these people? Empathy. I have empathy because in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, listen, I know what they're thinking. I know what they feel. I've been there. I used to feel the same way. And typically, most of the time, these folks are coming from a sincere place. And like I've said before, you can be sincere and sincerely wrong, but they sincerely feel like your soul is in jeopardy, right? Like your soul is lost, and they're the bearer of the truth, and they might be that last voice of God in your ear that might cause you to turn from your wicked ways and come back to God so that you can be in heaven with me. Right? And again, I can sympathize with that. I believed all that stuff with passion, with emotion, with, you know what I mean? Like, I used to earnestly pray for people, pray for the lost, pray for people to see the light, to the blinders that the devil have put on their eyes, that it might be lifted so they can see, that the light of God would come into their hearts and their soul and free them from these. I remember praying these prayers, and I was earnest, I was sincere. Okay. So I understand that when I'm talking to a religious person, especially of that evangelical flavor, they're just convinced that I'm wrong and that I've been led astray. They're just 100% convinced of that. And I understand that. So, it honestly, though it aggravates me, especially when people are real a-holes about it, when they're just they just act so certain, like they're so sure about something that just literally nobody can be certain of or sure of. Like, and again, I used to be that way, and just, now I would like to go back to myself and be like like, Timmy, snap out of it, you arrogant fool. Like, come on, you can't know what's after life. You can't know what's after death. You can't know what's, if there's a heaven or if there's a hell. You can't know that. You can believe it, you can have faith, that's fine, but you can't know it. If you did know it, if when you know something, you can let other people know it, and then they would know it too, because it's knowable. Okay. So stop with the I know there's a God. I know in my heart that Jesus is the Son. You don't know that. Stop lying. I thought you were a Christian. You don't believe in lying, right? You don't know. You believe. You have faith. You trust. You hope. Fine. No problem. But you don't know. Okay? Now, in all fairness, I don't know there is no God. I don't know that. I just see zero evidence for, especially the Bible God. Like, clearly that God doesn't exist. There's zero evidence for that God. But I don't know it. I don't know, but based upon the evidence, or the lack of evidence, I'm pretty confident, right, in my decision. And so, but at the end of the day, maybe, hey, maybe, I don't know. We'll find out one day. Okay. So, how do you have conversations with people that are super religious? Well, one is that empathy piece. Just realize they think they know the truth. They think that you're blinded. They think that you're lost. They think you're, dancing close to the flames of hell, and they want to help save you. Okay. Now, some of them are real a-holes about it, and just their whole demeanor, just makes you, like I said, just want to slap them upside the head. But that aside, empathy, just empathy, right? That'll help with the anger towards the other person. And secondly, so you got the empathy piece. The other piece is, I would say this: communicate and just say, hey, listen, I appreciate your concern for my soul, or I appreciate your concern for where I stand with God right now. And just to be fully honest here, I'm on a journey. I'm trying to figure things out, and I don't appreciate you coming at me like this. Obviously you can pray for me, because you hopefully maybe already are, right? I mean, you're not just right. So, you can keep on praying for me. Obviously, it's not going to do anything, but you can keep doing that. But I would respectfully ask that you stop, preaching at me, and stop hounding me with all this religious stuff. It's just not what I want to talk about. And so I'm just asking you to respect me, and to stop doing that. Okay, so you got to use your words. You got to talk. You can't get in debates with people. Like, listen, there's no way I'm going to be convinced, especially of the Bible God, like that literally, I'm just as about as certain as I can be that there is no Bible God. I'm just certain of that. So there's nothing that you're gonna say, right? Because that's the only evidence that someone has is, I have a book that says, there's a book written 2,000 years ago by some people, and it says this, so it's true. Like that, like that's not going to get me, right? You can't just pull stuff out of your tush, and that's going to make me start believing in God. Like there would have to be substantial, real, solid evidence for me to even possibly go, right? So their words are futile, just like my words to them would be futile. Now, I think it's important. You got the empathy piece, right? You've got hey, listen, I'm just going to communicate with you and say, hey, listen, just respect me. I don't want to talk about this. And so I'm asking you to stop talking to me about it. So just use your words, communicate clearly. But also, you can ask questions like, when did you whatever, like ask whatever. If you want to know, you can ask them some questions. One of the questions that someone asked me early on was, what if you're wrong? Like, right? You think Islam's wrong. You think, or you think Judaism is wrong. You think Buddhism is wrong. You think Hinduism is wrong. Jehovah's Witness is wrong. Mormon is wrong. Like, you think all these other groups are wrong. Like, what if you're wrong? And that question did stick in my mind and in my head for a long time, because I thought, what if I am wrong? Like, what if I am believing something incorrect? It's very possible, because, like, I've been wrong before on certain things. I've met people who used to be some other religion, and they left that religion and realized that they were wrong. Like, in other words, I'm like, I already think all these other religions are wrong and false and whatever. So possibly I could look in the mirror and find out that, what, maybe all the stuff that I'm believing is a little weird and wackadoodle too. Okay, come to find out, it was, right. So that's just part of the journey of being intellectually honest. Again, if you're in a situation and it can be a civil conversation, then just have some questions for them, and that's fine. But you can just put up your hand and say, hey, listen, I appreciate you as a friend, and I understand what you're trying to do here. I understand that you feel like I'm lost, and that's okay. I get it. But this is not a topic that I want to continue to discuss with you, and I ask you to respect my wishes, and respect me as a person, just like I'm not trying to convince you to not believe. I would appreciate you trying to stop trying to convince me to believe. Okay, And there's some things I want to throw in there that's really important. Be curious, not critical. Oftentimes, Christians can be critical of atheists, and atheists honestly can be critical of Christians. So, be curious. That's why I say ask questions. If it can be a dialogue, if the person isn't just a bona fide fundamental a-hole, and they're just, bulldozing through, and they're really not curious in what you think, all they care about is what they want to tell you, like, and that's a rare person. Often the religious people, they just have an agenda, they have what they want to say, they have to get that, they want to walk you down the Romans road, they want to tell you what they want to tell you, and they don't care what you have to say. And you can call that out too. You could say, hey, listen, if we're going to have a conversation, then let's have a conversation. If you're going to ask me questions, I'm going to ask you questions, and we can talk about it. But at the end of the day, right, you're going to walk away believing what you believe. I'm going to walk away believing what I believe, and we can be respectful of each other. And if we can't, then I don't want to talk to you. Like, you can say that. All right, be careful not crushing. Sometimes we as atheists or agnostics, I find religion just so deplorable, and so sometimes I just want to cut the throat, go for the jugular and just shut this conversation down. But again, going back to that empathy piece, listen, I'm just trying to be careful with my words. I'm trying to be curious. I'm trying to understand their position, where they're coming from, how they see it, why they see it that way. Now, clearly, I know in my situation, I already know what they think. I used to think it. I know the Bible verses. Like, I know what they're thinking. I know their perspective. And, when people, by the way, cuss and discuss in the comments below, when people make certain comments, especially when they're super religious, it's like, what do you think? Do you think I don't know that? You don't think I know what that verse says, or you don't think I know and have preached many sermons on the very thing that you're thinking you're going to throw in the comments, and then all of a sudden I'm going to be like, I see the light. I see the light. I'm coming back, everybody. Right? No, it doesn't work that way. Again, just like my videos, they resonate with you because you are either atheist, agnostic, or going through your own deconstruction. That's a lot of the messages that I get from folks, is that's where they are. They're either early on in the questioning phase, or they've recently come out of, and they've been deconstructing, or they've just come out recently, or they haven't come out yet, but they're deconstructing privately. And for whatever reason, I seem to resonate and connect with you, and my story sounds so similar to your story, and that's just normal. I mean, I saw other deconstruction videos over the last few years, and felt the same way. I'd watch a video and be like, "Whoa, that dude, that sounds like my story, right? That sounds so curious, so close to my story." And so that's who I'm. If I'm targeting anybody, that's who I'm targeting. Clearly, if you're a Christian, if you're a fundamental evangelical kind of Christian, I really don't. You're not my target. I'm not trying to get create doubts in you. I'm not trying to get you to throw away your beliefs. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just not. Now, are my videos maybe like getting in people's mind? Maybe, but I'm just going to tell you right now, from the horse's mouth, that's not my intent at all. I typically, those that are convinced, and will be more convinced. They watch a video like this, and they dig in, they double down, they dig in even further. And so, just like me, if I watch a debate, I don't hear the Christian person that's in the debate and think, "Ooh, maybe he's right." Like, that doesn't happen. Now, granted, now he might be a good debater, and I think, "Oh man, I wish the atheist was a better debater, because he's getting beat just on skill of debate, not skill on information." But even then, just I the unbeliever, the atheist, the agnostic, it just makes way more sense. I watched recently a creationist versus an evolutionist, and I was just like, oh my gosh. I mean, there wasn't even a comparison. It was just so evolution just 100% for me. It just absolutely makes so much more sense, and it's evidence based, whereas the other, it's all just make believe, hooky pooky, pokey wokey, nutty nutty, goofy goofy, weird stuff. And you can put that on a t-shirt. All right, a couple other points here. So we got be curious, not critical, be careful, not crushing, ask, don't assume. You know, we all do that. I assume this is what this Christian believes. I've had it happen. I was talking to someone and I assumed they believed in creation, and they were like, "No, I believe in evolution." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Oh, so you're not totally nuts, right?" So don't just ask, don't assume. Questions are great. Connect. It's important to connect with someone before you offer any kind of you know like connect before you correct, I guess would be a nice way to say it. It's not that you're trying to correct their religious beliefs, because people believe what they want to believe. But if you have evidence, like if there's certain things that you're like, no, like 100%, I know that's wrong. Like this isn't. It'd be like talking to a flat earther. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, maybe it is flat. Oh, no, it's not flat. Okay, it's just not. Uh, and I don't even know how much more evidence we could have. Like some people, I think, are just going to be flat earthers, even if they were taken out to space themselves and flown around the Earth. They would still be like, hey, it's flat. I'm going to believe it's flat regardless. Like that, I just don't think that they're just like they don't get it, right? They don't get it, and so they're going to continue to believe something that's just 100% not true, not even like possible, not even like maybe, not even like a quarter of a percent potential maybe. It's not, right? So when it comes to things of God, that's different, because it's like, you know I can't prove God doesn't exist. It's clearly all the evidence 100% points to it's very unlikely. But a Christian can't prove that there is a God. And I find that such a futile when they're like, no, I can prove it. If you open up to Matthew chapter, it's like, oh, so you have a Bible verse for me that's just going to prove God's existence? Okay, do share. Can you tell me that again? So there you go. If you have, maybe it's your work environment, maybe some of the friends that you have at work, or maybe because you've been deconstructing, you have friends from the church, and if you still want to be friends with them, which I still have some Christian friends, and they just know, and I know I'm respectful to them. They are respectful to me. They know I don't believe. I know that they do believe. And so I respect that. Yes, of course. They think I'm blinded and lost. I'm blinded by the devil, and that I'm lost and going to hell. And I think they're blinded and into cult believing mythology and goofy, right? So, but that's like that's only a very small piece of the relationship. It's like I don't know. It's a little hard for me to explain, except that there's just this mutual respect between me and my Christian friends, where they know I don't believe. I know they do believe, and that's fine. It's a free country, man. You're free to believe, and they understand. You don't have to believe. And the reality is this: a Christian, it's no skin off my back that they believe I'm wrong. It used to bother me. It used to bother me knowing that they were wrong, but but it bothered me even more because, again, this is in my own mind. Like, I'm thinking they're 100% wrong, and it bothered me that they thought I was wrong. But we're mutually, we think each other's wrong. So it just is what it is. And it just comes down to a mutual respect for each other's autonomy and what we believe as individuals, and that there's a freedom in that. Because listen, Christians don't see eye to eye. Like, Christians don't see eye to eye. I mean, come on. There's what, 34, 35,000 different Christian denominations, which is different interpretations of the Bible. So many different interpretations of the Bible, some 34, 35,000 different perspectives. And they continue to still split. The Methodists recently split again over the LGBTQ plus issue of ordaining gay folks. Like, so clearly there will be schisms and separations from here till religion finally dies and breathes its last breath, when we have some kind of definite truth and evidence that, see, it's all made up. Maybe we'll dig up some kind of stone that has an engraving that's like, hey, we made all that stuff up, by the way. So the mutual respect is just absolutely important, but you got to use your words. And I've learned from my mistakes to where I let religious people make me mad, where it just made me mad, because I don't like being judged. I don't like being told I'm wrong. I don't like being treated like that. And so it trips my trigger, and I responded in a way that, I would not do again. And so now what I've learned is I shut my mouth. And if someone tries to pull me into it, like, well, Timmy doesn't believe, like, if they try to pull me, like if I'm in a group and there's religious people talking and they try to like pull me in, I always just smile and say, hey, you guys, I don't want to be pulled into this conversation. What I believe is my own personal business, and I appreciate you respecting that. Like, you can just shut that down so easy. And frankly, if they're going to be a-holes about it and not be respectful, well, one, it's like, that's not very Christian, right? So clearly you're a freaking hypocrite, number one. So there's that. But outside of that, you have 2 feet and you can walk away. You can just say, hey, I don't like talking politics or religion. People get too uptight about it. And I'm sure we see eye to eye on some things, and other things we don't see eye to eye. So I'm gonna respectfully bow out of this conversation, and you just walk away. Okay. So I guess the other thought I would throw out there is, the only thing that I could see could be a potential problem is when you have someone that's just very a-holy, and they're just continuing to, kind of come after you. And especially if this is in family settings or in close friends settings, or if this is at work, and you might not have an escape. I don't know what else to really say outside of catch someone alone and just like, hey, listen, man, I just don't appreciate everybody preaching at me. I think that you guys believe what you believe, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with you believing all that stuff, but I really don't appreciate, you know, you coming after me like this, and making fun of me, or trying to make sure I know that it's wrong to be whatever, like, or make sure I know what, like I we're not going to do that. And yeah, so there's some thoughts for you, to things that I've had to use, and tools that I'm equipped with. I just don't, I just, at this point, I really just don't I've had those conversations already with Christians, and I talk here and share here all my thoughts and ideas clearly, but I don't do that when I'm in out in the world. Like when I'm at out and about, I don't talk about this stuff like this. Now, if it comes up, yeah, I'm not a closet agnostic. I mean, I'll talk about it, but it's here's the problem I had when I was a Christian. It was my very identity. It wasn't like I'm Timmy and I'm a Christian. No, I was a Christian. Like it was who I was. It was my very identity. I'm just going to tell you right now, atheism or agnosticism is not my identity either. That's not my identity. I'm Timmy Gibson, and I just happen to not believe in God. Like that's it, right? So it's I don't identify as, so you can't offend me because I'm like my identity's not agnostic or atheist or non-believer. Like no, I'm like a normal dude that likes various things, and clearly I love coffee and you know like flannel shirts and love tattoos. Clearly, I like riding my motorcycle. I love to read books. I love my wife. I love my two pets. It's like there's so many other facets to my life that just have nothing at all to do with my lack of belief in a God, right? And so that's another problem. I think I noticed that sometimes when their identity is a certain thing, that's where they can get their feathers ruffled, because anything that's counter to what their belief system is, it attacks their very core of who they are, because they identify as a Christian. I'm a Christian, right? Or I am atheist, or I am agnostic, or I am whatever it is. I think honestly, if we're really healthy, I think we kind of move past that and we grow past that. We have our own identity. Like you're whoever you are. And yeah, I don't believe in God, or I do believe in God, or I am uncertain about what I believe about God, or I used to be a Christian, but I'm really questioning whether I am a Christian or not. I mean, it took me a long time to ever say, I'm not a Christian. I can't even tell you. It took me a long time. I almost want to think it's been within the last year or so, maybe last couple years, to where I felt confident and comfortable saying, I'm not a Christian. Like that took it. And sometimes when I first started saying that, I'd say, well, I'm not a Christian, but I love Jesus. Jesus wasn't a Christian. So it took me a while to get to the place that I am now. So give yourself some grace, give yourself some space, hold hold yourself and others with respect. Respect yourself, respect them, have boundaries, and use your words, communicate. And you might be surprised how understanding some people will be. Now, some people won't, and that's fine. They can just continue to go down the road being a buffoon. Let them do that. That's, again, no skin off your back. And so what that they think you're going to hell? There is no hell. It's make believe. It's like someone going, "You better be careful. Santa's going to put you on that list." Okay. Oh no. Okay. All right, guys. So good to hang out with you. Cuss and discuss below. Like, subscribe, do all the stuff. I've got a Patreon if you want to help show me some love and support. Really would appreciate that. Also, I started a Facebook group just for those of us that are going through the deconstruction, reconstruction process, or agnostic, atheist, whatever. It's not for religious folks. So if you're religious, clearly you can't get in. And if you try to sneak in and lie about it, now you're just a total lying Christian, which is very curious. Right? Like that is just, if you're gonna lie to get into, just further proves our point, proves the point. Anyway, it's called the Deconstruction Community, It's on Facebook. It's a private group. Ask to join. I'll approve you. Peace.